Awesome.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Pipeline, episode 137. I am joined, returning guest, behind the Colonel. How's it going, buddy? How's it going?
It's going great. What is up, everybody? I'm ready to talk about the Thunderbolts.
The Thunderbolts, man. You know what? It's been a minute. Obviously, we're friends via Council of Creators and a bunch of those kind of shows. We had you on about a year ago. And
was it really that long ago?
To be exact, it was last February. So it's been almost year and a couple of months. And I think about that episode actually quite frequently, because that episode in my mind is kind of when the shift at Marvel started to happen. And I actually think it's very interesting that this is almost a very full circle moment, because we're going to be talking a lot of the changes that Marvel things have been said this week. Obviously, this feels like a new setup, but that episode was when they released the Fantastic Four, that Valentine's Day photo. Like, it was our first look at the movie, and I feel like in my mind I kind of associate that episode as I talked about that in that episode, and me being like, things feeling different. Something in the air feels fresh and new. But Colonel, how are you doing today? What's been up?
I'm doing good. I actually was just talking to you about how I watched this new movie, like an adaptation of Romeo and Juliet. It was pretty good. No new theater movies though this week. Usually on a Thursday night I'm going to see a new theater release, but this week just was empty. Like, next week I'll go see was it Final Destination Bloodlines. So this week I don't have anything this week.
I just happened to have caught you on the one Thursday you're not watching a movie.
So
I need to get better at going weekly. Like, I have one of those Regal unlimited cards. Whenever I do.
Yeah, I have the AMC A-list pass thing. Yeah, that's what I do.
I'm lucky if I go a couple times a month. Like, I need to be like, no, go every week to get your $20 a month worth, and it's like, I need to get back though. I need to get back into there. What up, one Marvel fan? How's it going? Hope you're doing well. Cody, welcome to the channel. It's great seeing you, buddy. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna get started. Like, since the last time you've been on, shows changed quite a bit. I think the show's hopefully evolved in.
I can see just all the little graphics and everything. Oh yeah.
A little different, yeah. But we have our creator spotlight segments. And I don't have a lot prepared for this week, just only because I only contacted you 2 days ago as this last minute. You want to come on the show? Are you available? It'd mean a lot to me if you could. But I do want to hear about kind of your origins on YouTube. Obviously, it's so interesting hearing about all these various people, why they got on YouTube, what they wanted to do with it, what's their vision, what's their plan. So what's your kind of origins on YouTube, and what is it that made you want to do that?
So I got interested in YouTube way back in middle school. I was a kid. I didn't really know what I was doing. I would quite literally, I would stack a bunch of movies on a table and get my little iPad that I had and film me playing like Mario Kart or something. That was what I considered a video back then. But then around my senior year of high school, I just like, that's, the point when everyone starts asking you, what are you going to do when you get out of high school? What are you going to do? And I remember that the previous year, 2019, was when Endgame had come out. And just, I left that theater thinking like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Because the thing I realized was, I worked at a grocery store at the time, and I was like, but my favorite things are when I'm talking about movies. And that kind of just stuck with me. I'm like, why would I rather be doing anything else than talking about movies? So I started to pursue that as my job. I went to California. I got a 2-year degree in film and editing. Then I was about to go into the full-on film industry when I realized that it wasn't that I wanted to make them. It was that I wanted to connect with the community and talk about them.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like a weird gray area for me. I was like, figuring all that out. But I came back home and I've been building this channel. This channel actually used to be called Limitless, believe it or not, about 2 or 3 years ago. And me and my one friend, we sat in a room, we're like, I don't think this name tells you anything about what I'm trying to do. And so we spent like 2 days just brainstorming in my room, throwing out ideas. And I think through a combination of stuff, we came up with Behind the Kernel, and it just stuck. And I liked the sound of it. It was quick, short, sweet, simple. And it tells you exactly what I'm trying to talk about, which is movies. So.
That's incredible. Like, I feel very similarly where like in high school, everyone's like, yeah, you need to go make movies. You love movies. And I do love movies, but not necessarily making them. Like that wasn't necessarily where my passion was, but I agree with you 100%. Like connecting through movies and talking about it and going into like what it means and these deeper meanings have always very interested in me. And I think that's so fascinating that you took the extra step to like, you said you like went to film school, right? Like you learned about it properly.
Yeah. Yep, out in Los Angeles. Yep.
That's such a huge step. That's such a big milestone, and that's such a scary thing. I would imagine just to be like, all right, I'm gonna go do that. And I feel like film school. I hope this doesn't come across as offensive, but like I feel like that's the one where people kind of roll their eyes when they first hear it. We're like, oh, he just wants to make movies. All right.
And I'll be honest, I kind of like had those thoughts going in, and even like it's all you kind of just have to make the mistakes you make and move past them. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah. Like it's definitely like a big like quote unquote like stereotype, and like I like not to discourage anyone that wants to go to film school, but like I remember going into it, like I think that's what kind of turned me off of it a little bit, was because like I'd have so many people being like, okay, you have to watch this and this and this and this and this and this, and you have to know this and this and this going in, and it's like, well, I'm not going to see all of these things. There's no way I could possibly see everything that people say you have to know going into film school. And I think it feels like a very gated community to kind of go into, where it's like you have to know all this stuff going in. And it's like, do you actually, when people are making movies on smartphones now with no real ideas of what's going on, really? So
for me, it was realized because like I actually had a friend that I went to film school with. His name was Nathan, and his dad, believe it or not, actually worked on some of the CGI for like No Way Home, some other Marvel movies. And I got to talk to him and just like see what, and it kind of made me realize that like, as much as I was at the time, I wasn't like, I was kind of doing content, but I was also like in school, like in film school. So I was kind of like trying to figure out like, what do I really want? And I was afraid to like opt out of, obviously I ended up graduating, but I was afraid, to make that choice, not disappoint anybody, anything like that. Sure. But I just remember I just wanted to talk about movies. I wanted to go in and experience them. And to me, being a fan is the most important thing.
Yeah. yeah, I mean, it is the like crusts of everything in the industry. There wouldn't be nothing without like the fandom, and
Yeah.
you know, just from personal experience, it is also hard because it is like fandom is so much popular now than it used to be, and I feel like there's so many people
Yeah.
like us trying to do this kind of content that's just trying to review and do commentary and all these things on the industry. Like it's a
You get
very
lost.
populated. You get lost very easily. Like, what is your ultimate goal out of your content creator forum? Like what's the ultimate thing that you hope to achieve by doing this?
Just to, I mean, first of all, just to connect with people, so that like I would love if one day like I could go and meet up with people that, you know, because when I was younger, I used to watch a bunch of, you know, if you want to call it movie content creators, right?
Yeah.
And I used to watch a bunch of them, and movies have been a thing for me that have gotten me through some pretty hard times in my life. Like I've always just been able to put something on, get lost in it, and watching sometimes I watch like commentaries over movies. That adds to it. Those people, I feel like I can connect with them because that's how I watch movies. Like I'll add a funny comment here or there, or so, you know, whatever it might be.
Right.
So I would love to, you know, be able to have my own group of people that see me as I saw those people, and that they would want to meet me, or they would want to connect with me, or they'd feel safe coming to my channel. So that's kind of, yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah, no, that's absolutely amazing, and the best of luck on your journey to those goals. Lastly, just some part of this little segment, because I feel like we both just want to crunch our teeth into this movie and everything going on right now. But I do like asking people, what's your favorite movie of all time? Of all time, what's your favorite movie?
Actually, I don't know if I can show. I have it right here. It's Interstellar.
Interstellar. That's good.
Interstellar. I have I remember watching that movie for the first time. I actually went to the IMAX event that they had last year, for the 10th anniversary. That was a really cool experience because I'd never seen that movie in theaters before, and
Incredible. It's like I just did it for the first time in January. I like every New Year's I like bring in the new year with like a big iconic movie I've never seen before. And that's been one of them on my list since like it came out. Like I got it for like Christmas like 6-7 years ago, and I had never opened it. I never watched it. It's like one of those movies that was like so big. It's like, okay, but like when's the right time to actually sit down and do it?
Right.
That I could pour everything into, and it's incredible.
For me, it's like kind of what I just mentioned. Like the point of movies is to get lost and to forget, like literally, that I'm a person on Earth doing person things. When I watch that movie, I forget literally about everything else. The music, the Matthew McConaughey himself, just this world that they've built, and the way, like, I've always been a big space person. I've always loved, you know, that kind of stuff, sci-fi. So the idea of like such a serious movie that also like takes space exploration at kind of like a somewhat simple level, like it's not all these crazy aliens or anything. It's just like this very simple concept, but that it matters so much. Like it's just something about it clicks in my head.
Amazing. Yeah, no. And what's your favorite TV show as well?
This one is more of a popular answer.
Okay.
But it's Stranger Things. I keep going back to that show time after time. You know, as popular as it may be, it's because I've thought to myself, I'm like, do I just like it? But I started watching that show the day it came out. I remember, funny enough, I remember being pretending to be sick in middle school, and I was like, oh, what's this new show, Stranger Things, on Netflix? And I remember binging the whole season in one day.
Wow.
And just falling in love with that show.
Yeah, like that one I am always kind of like I always feel like slightly scared to say it's one of my favorites because it's like it is so popular and it's like every white guy's favorite show, and I'm like,
right.
Yeah, but it's also good. Like it's the same with like Breaking Bad, where it's like of course it's good. Yeah, like
like you don't want to say it because it's like it feels like everyone's answer, but it's like I gotta like it really is that good.
It's good. Yeah, it's I'm curious to see like what the atmosphere will be like this year when it wraps. I hope it's this year. We haven't heard nothing in a while, so I hope it's still
Oh,
Stuff coming along.
I believe we're getting the trailer at the end of this month at the Tundum event.
Oh wow. Okay, that'll be fun. That'll be interesting. I'm excited to see that. But we're gonna hop into today's episode. So, typically we would have like 3 or 4 kind of news stories about various different topics. It's been a couple kind of like a slow news week the last couple weeks, but this week was like, hey, Kevin Feige got like a billion things to say, and all these interviews are coming out, and Ryan Reynolds has something to say, and it's all about Marvel, and I do think we are with Thunderbolts. I think we've entered this new era of Marvel. Like, it feels like we're in a new kind of post Bob Chapek's pre Kevin Feige, or I'm sorry, Bob Iger coming back era of Marvel.
That's quality over quantity. Yeah.
Yes. So we have a couple of news stories here. I literally just bookmarked a bunch of the discussing film things that came out.
I do the same exact thing.
Normally I have a whole thing, but I was like, this is like 7 different graphics I gotta make. I'm doing it this way this week. So let me move over. Let's do this. This works. Okay. Yes, indeed. So let's just go through some of these. Hopefully not too long on each one, but I do think there's some really interesting things here to talk about.
Right.
This first one, and like almost completely forgot about this first one because it's been such a crazy week with the movie coming out and so many interesting quotes and big things. This was the first one. Hello, Jose. How's it going? This was the one this week where I sat there being like, I don't know how I feel about this. Ryan Reynolds says he's writing a Deadpool / X-Men team-up movie. We talked about this a little bit a couple weeks ago, where we talked about there potentially being a new Deadpool project, him kind of teasing this.
Mm-hmm.
It's said to include 3 to 4 X-Men members with Deadpool as a supporting character. So I don't know how to feel about this, especially with today's recent news that had just come out about that kind of contradicts potentially this a little bit. What are your thoughts on him saying this? Because this wasn't a Kevin Feige thing. They said they hadn't even pitched it to him yet.
Just like what are my thoughts on like the idea of it, or like if I think it's true, or
just this whole situation of I think it's really interesting that it purposely stated this Kevin Feige has nothing to do with this. To me, this low-key feels like this is another thing of then him going over the studio's head again, of similar to what he did with the first Deadpool movie.
It feels like he's Wade Wilson in real life, you know. I honestly, I think the only thought that I really have about it is, I mean, I like the Deadpool movies. I think they're good movies. I don't love them like a lot of people do. I know there's like a whole fandom built around it. I think they're great movies. I don't think anything more than that. But I personally, I hope this is not our first introduction. If this does come to light, I hope this is not our first introduction to the X-Men. I like Deadpool for what he is, but I don't necessarily want my X-Men characters in the light that Deadpool portrays his movies. Like, it's such a different light versus like the actual X-Men movies that he portrays everything. So, like, I would love to see Deadpool maybe cameo in an X-Men movie. Like, that would be fine. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yeah. Fully agree. Like, I saw this and I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit, and I was like, wait, why did I do that? Because like, I like the Deadpool movies. I think they're really good. I also think, similar to what you said, I think Deadpool is a too much of a good thing kind of thing, where it's like he's great in small doses. A movie maybe every 5-6 years, but I don't necessarily need a frequent dose of Deadpool.
Right.
Deadpool and X-Men movie sounds cool. Like you said, not the first project. I would be actively upset if the first X-Men movie includes Deadpool in a large way, I should say. Like, a little cameo is fine or whatever. That, you know, like you said, but
I also think it would not be good for the X-Men, because then it would be like the X-Men are pushed to the side and Deadpool's on top because everyone already knows Deadpool. He's in the movies. Mm-hmm. Not that people don't know the X-Men, but for people that are like, you know, maybe they introduce some X-Men to that maybe aren't as well known. I think this X-Men, they need to stand on their own without the support of Deadpool.
Yeah, and like, this doesn't necessarily feel like MCU X-Men. Like this feels like a project that maybe would have come out like 6-7 years ago with
Yeah,
Fox
definitely.
Universe. And if that was the case, I would feel better about this. Like if this was like a special presentation on Disney Plus or whatever that takes place in the Fox universe or something. All right, go for it. That sounds fun.
Yeah, that's fine. I agree.
Agreed. Yeah, but not the main X-Men. Agreed. Okay, so there was an interview with Kevin Feige this week. Most of them is behind a paywall, but here are some of the big highlights from that interview. Kevin Feige recently told his Marvel Studio colleagues that watching every new MCU TV show and movie has started to feel more like homework than entertainment. Let's just focus on that bit for a second. Do you agree with that statement? Do you think it's been too much over the last 5 years, or are you happy with what we've got?
I mean, as a content creator who likes reacting to stuff, I love the content.
Yeah, valid.
There has been a point. There was one show where I was like, hey, I don't think we needed that. I don't really think it added much to how I felt about the character. And that was Echo for me. I like the character of Echo, but watching that show did kind of feel like I don't know. It was fine. I liked it. Yeah. But I was watching it with like, I think we could have gone without this.
Sure.
And because I will, go on record and say I love most of the stuff that the modern MCU has done post Endgame. I know a lot of people are iffy on that, but I like almost everything that they've put out. There are one or two exceptions, but I think that they've done a pretty good job with trying to build up some kind of story. Especially after Thunderbolts. Like I feel like when I left that movie, it just felt like they were heading in the right direction.
Agreed. Yeah, like I think like it's weird because like I do love all the content. Like just me as a person, I could watch a new show every month and I would probably have a blast with it.
Right.
But I do think for the future of the franchise, it is probably the best thing for them to be taking this approach. To like just kind of continue that thought. They are moving now to 1 or 2 live action shows per year.
I'm okay with that.
I am also okay with that. Like again, I've enjoyed a lot of these shows. I've enjoyed a lot of these things. But it's interesting because one of those shows is got to be Daredevil, which they have now said will be an ongoing thing. Like they've recently teased, I don't have that this year, but they've recently teased they have plans for maybe a season 3 already, and they have said in a quote that they plan to put a new season out every March for the next several years, which is very exciting. That's very ambitious. And if that is true, that only leaves maybe one potential new TV show every year. If Daredevil's going on for the next 3 to 6 years or whatever, that means maybe only one new show every year, and that's if it's a 6-episode event type show and not like an ongoing series, which I think is kind of an interesting choice. I
would say if they do if they do 1 to 2 live action shows, that I could see them. Obviously, we know they're going to do animated stuff. Not freshman year. What was it? Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man was a big hit. As much as they kind of got off track with What If, I thought it was a good concept. I think that the animated stuff can really work for them. I also think they're going to start leading. I've seen so much more headlines about these special presentations, and I think that is such a smart way to go to maybe talk about a character, but not have everyone like have to watch a whole show about them. Agreed.
I think I'm taking the words right out of my mouth. I think there's going to be a lot more focus on the animation side of it, which I'm completely fine with. Like, I've loved X-Men 97. I adored that show. I've loved Spider-Man. This year we have Zombies and Wakanda Eyes of Wakanda. Yeah, that coming out. So I 100% agree with that. Both those things. And I think if the whole thing is like, let's be honest, that's still not like a small amount. If you do 3 movies a year, 2 TV shows, some animated shows, that's still a lot of content, and you're not really shrinking the size that much. Like, not really. So that's gonna be.
And if that means we'll get a lot more quality stuff, like even more than we've got, like I'm okay with that.
Agreed. Yeah, no, 100%. Do you have any pitch for what like that second show could be? Like if there was like a second ongoing TV show?
So like, are you talking about like next year?
Yeah, just like going forward, like like we have a bunch of shows this year. I know we have Vision Quest next year, but like after that, if like once we have maybe 2 spots for a TV show, is there a show that you would like them to do?
Maybe not necessarily a show, but I think this is a rumor right now, or maybe it's actually in production. One of my favorite Marvel characters, I think, is rumored to have a special presentation being Nova. And I would love to see a Nova special presentation. I actually would love to see him, join the Guardians in the MCU, but that's a whole separate topic.
Yeah. Nova's one of those characters that keep saying, like, they keep saying it's coming, and it's like, all right, I guess so.
Show me.
Whatever. Yeah. It's like, all right. I don't know why you don't do a movie for Nova, because I feel like that's like the, especially with this transition with everything, I was like, seems like a movie to me. My last kind of pitch with this is like I've said for years, I think like a proper MCU anthology show would be really, really smart for them. So instead of doing like every character gets a show, everything gets a show, here's like, okay, here are 8 episodes a year of these various stories that are never going to get their own movie, So it's like, we're not doing Luke Cage season 2. Here's a Luke Cage episode. Here's an Agatha episode. Here's a Kate Bishop episode. Hey, you haven't seen Miss Marvel in a couple years? Here's an episode. Whenever we're doing Moon Knight, here's a Moon Knight episode. Like, just kind of like a mini isolated thing. So you don't have to people don't have to watch 1,000 shows to keep up. They just have to keep up with one TV show, and there's all your info right there, kind of thing.
Yeah. You just made me think of a show that I could see happening.
Okay.
Because I'm kind of on the fence if I think this could be a movie or a show. But I think it could be really fun if it were a show, and they could definitely have because I know a common complaint with the Disney Plus Marvel shows have been oh, they're not like episodes. It's like one long movie. If they did this, they could definitely have each episode is about them taking on a different task. The Young Avengers. I would love that.
Could be. I am curious though, because this is getting a little ahead of ourselves, but with the reveal of the movie, of the Thunderbolts movie, it's that's a second movie franchise with the name inside of it, and then you add Young Avengers along with that. It's are you gonna have 3 different MCU titles with that in the name?
That's true.
That's true. Kind of crazy. So
yeah,
it's possible. We'll see. We'll talk more about this in a second, but I do just want to bring this one up. Kevin Feige has told colleagues he has a 10-year plan for the X-Men. Now, we'll talk about the X-Men thing in a second, because there's a larger thing that had come up today. But this is interesting to me, because that means Kevin Feige is around for 10 more years. This means he is not going nowhere. I know there's a lot of rumors saying that he was going to leave post Secret Wars, which, I mean, he would deserve it if he did do that, because he's been doing this now for what is coming up on 20 years, or 15 years. He's been doing this for a long time, so I'd get it. He's not going nowhere. We're stuck with him for a while. Very interesting. Are you okay with him sticking around? Are you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. When I see this. Oh, hello, Chainsaw.
Hey, Jordan.
When I hear 10-year plan for X-Men, that is music to my ears, because all I want is for them to be able to tell a story over a long period of time. I know people can be impatient, but I think that waiting for projects to come out is what builds the fandom.
Yeah.
And gets people excited. Endgame didn't come out 5 years after the MCU started. It was 10 or 11 years after the MCU started. So you had all that time to, I think I hope they can build something like that.
Yeah, and I think X-Men need time to flourish, and I like the idea of being able to spend time with this team. There's so many X-Men characters, there's so many stories.
Absolutely.
You need 10 years. And this isn't even necessarily saying it's like, okay, this is one story over 10 years. This could be 10 different stories in 10 years. Like, there are so many various things you could do with this larger world now that it's here.
And Marvel, if you're listening, have these characters interact with other characters in New York, like the Fantastic Four. But that's a whole separate conversation.
Sure. Yeah, no, like I'm like this. It's so weird though, because I feel like we've been waiting so long. Like back in 2019 when they bought it, like when they bought Fox, I was like, oh man, couple years we're gonna be getting those X-Men characters. It's gonna be so good. And ultimately, I am glad we waited. I ultimately think I like that they get to have a whole saga to themselves. I know there's a whole thing where they weren't able to make movies about them until this year and all of that, blah blah blah. I think they've actually done a rather good job at kind of like appeasing us until we can get there with Deadpool 3, with 97, with Marvel and stuff like that. Yeah,
definitely.
And a Doomsday next year too. Like it's not a new X-Men, but it's also it's those things. We're gonna skip that one. We're gonna go to this one. This is very interesting to me. So Kevin Feige was spread so thin at Marvel in the early 2020s that creative wouldn't hear from him and spend weeks on work only to get feedback that it was too late to be implemented. So this is something that I feel like I've been kind of saying some of this stuff for a long time. Like it feels like there's a lot of the things that we were saying, that we were theorizing around this time. There was a lot of amongst COVID, amongst the writer strikes, amongst an actor leaving, amongst them trying to do 20 projects at once. There's a lot of the stuff that I think we finally we were feeling behind the scenes, and I kept being this is a problem because this is behind the scenes and this and this and this. I feel like a lot of people weren't listening to me it just sucks now or whatever. But I feel like with a lot of this stuff coming out, there's finally a okay, that's what we thought. Yes, this is why there are these problematic things behind the scenes, or these things maybe weren't working as well as they could have on as a consistent rate as they maybe were in a phase 3 or something. What's your thoughts on this? Does this all make sense to you?
When we were in that phase of Marvel, when I always said, back when this was happening in real time, I always said that it felt like they were making good solo projects, but nothing felt connected. And who's the man that connects it all? Right there. Yeah. He is the man that takes all these stories. He goes, talks to all these different people, and he connects it all. And I just felt that's to me, that's the only thing that's really felt like it was missing from post Endgame, is that there just hasn't been much meeting up or people talking. And now that he is not spread as thin, it finally seems funny enough that is not happening anymore.
Yeah, agreed. Just this year alone, there does feel like the 3 major projects that have come out, Captain America, Thunderbolts, and even Daredevil, even if it's not on screen, obviously there's that connection between between Captain America and Thunderbolts. There's references and stuff to that movie. And even in themes, there are very similar themes in Thunderbolts and Daredevil Born Again. And these overarching stories were not mentioned. You kind of feel the consequences in the air. And I 100% agree with you. There was just so much spread thin. And if you look at the projects, some of them that I think stand on their own by itself, even if you don't like those projects, are some of the better ones. Some of the ones like Deadpool and Wolverine and Guardians and Internals, which are projects that weren't very Kevin Feige focused, and it felt like they were just do your thing, make the best movie, and they put them out, and Kevin Feige wasn't around it because there wasn't a connectivity around it, or some of their better projects post Endgame.
Yeah.
So
that's actually a really interesting comment that I very much agree with. I'm so for letting directors have their own creativity space, but these aren't just movies that are never going to have connections. That's the whole point of the MCU, is that it's a connected universe. Yeah. So, give those directors their creative freedom, but also say, hey, just so you know, this does need to connect in some way, but that's really your only, if you want to call it a roadblock, right? And most directors, I think, would be okay with that, knowing that they will go into this knowing, hey, this is part of a big universe.
Yeah.
and this is the man that's going to, you know, kind of make sure that it does connect for the fans. So no, I agree.
Yeah, like and like I think Thunderbolts is actually a really good example of this. I think a project that does both. It feels like an isolated story. It feels like its own thing. It feels like most people could probably just jump on here and enjoy it as a movie, but also it feels very connected. Like to the point, it's a huge crossover movie with Falcon and Winter Soldier and Hawkeye and Ant-Man and the Wasp and, you know, all these various different projects.
Yes.
It feels like a good kind of, like, you can enjoy it on its own, but also it's that satisfaction of all these stories coming together that we've been kind of waiting for in Phase 4 and 5. So, speaking of Thunderbolts, and I think we're heading towards the end of this list here. I wanted to just talk about the name change for a second, and like obviously we'll talk more about this when we get there. But I want to talk about it more on like a marketing side of things, because I don't remember, spoilers guys also for this movie if you have not seen it. We're gonna be talking about spoilers. I think going into this, I didn't exactly expect what this would fully mean. Like going into with the asterisk, I was like, they're just going to be called something going forward. There's going to be a thing, but I did not expect it to be as much of a marketing gimmick as it is. To the point where I walk out and it's like, oh, it is like kind of properly the name of the movie. Like they say it's called Thunderbolts now, but people are treating it as this is the new name of the proper film. Did you know? Were you spoiled on the huge like name change thing going into the movie, or did you know nothing?
I knew there was going to be some kind of name change, but I did not know what it would be. I actually had theorized, you know, like a lot of people did, that it would be like the Dark Avengers or something like that. Yeah. I'll be totally honest. I would love, now this is in a perfect world, right? I would love if they do this whole marketing thing with the new Avengers. And like they said in the film, spoiler alert, they're having issues with getting the rights to the new Avengers name with Sam Wilson. And I would love if they're just like after, you know, maybe Doomsday or something, they're just like, yeah, we're not the Avengers. And they make like a whole new thing where they're actually the Thunderbolts, but it's more, there's more, you know, maybe members on the Thunderbolts now, because I love the Thunderbolts comics, and I would actually love to see a team that is the Thunderbolts and is proud to be the Thunderbolts.
Yeah. Because, yeah, it's really interesting how they kind of went about it, because, like, I guess this is kind of getting into, like, the movie side of it. You know, we'll be jumping in here soon. But, like, when we had heard those leaks and rumors like a year ago that it wasn't going to be about Thunderbolt Ross, but like a soccer team, I was like, oh, that's fucking stupid. I don't want that. And then in the movie itself, it's like, it actually kind of works. It kind of works here, especially since it's not the actual team. And if you want, you could technically still do the Thunderbolts in the future if you really, really wanted to.
I'm going to make a theory. I'm just going to say it right now so it's documented. I'm going to say in Avengers Doomsday, they're gonna need a lot of help, but the Avengers, or Sam Wilson, is going to be, not that he's going to be too self-righteous, but like the Avengers are a big responsibility. They are seen as the heroes. I think they are going to be like, no, we can't have like the Red Hulk on our team. These guys aren't going to care.
Yeah,
they're going to be more accepting of him because they've all made, you know, mistakes. So I think that we could see, you know, Thunderbolt Ross join the team, and that somehow, because obviously he is on the team in the comics, so I would love to see that. But I'd also love to see Zemo on the team, but that's a whole nother.
Yeah, like there's, but like retrospectively, like it does make a lot of sense now why some of those characters weren't on the team. People are like, "Where's Abomination? Where's Zemo? Where's all the, you know, where's Bullseye?" And it's like, would not.
They're not new Avengers
at all. Like Bullseye doesn't fit in with that team whatsoever. What up, Ronan? How's it going, buddy? Doesn't fit that dynamic whatsoever. But I do think it's been really interesting, and I think box office is showing, because they had a rise upon week 2 in the box office. So like this is a gimmick that I think worked well. People that didn't care about a Thunderbolts movie might care about Avengers movie. Okay, so this is kind of like what we were saying a little bit earlier. Bob Iger said Thunderbolts is the first and best example of Marvel's new focus on quality over quality over quantity. I think this is very interesting because I've seen people complain about this a little bit, be like, oh yeah, they're just saying this. But like objectively, they're not wrong yet, right? Because this is the first project that's 100% Bob Iger coming back. This
yes,
is
and
initiative.
I would like to point out for anyone watching, this wasn't just said. This was said before the movie came out.
Yeah.
So obviously they felt good enough about it to say that, and then obviously now it's being received well. But listen. If anyone has serious doubts about Fantastic Four: The First Steps, you can have those doubts. I don't have those doubts. That's my most anticipated movie of the year. But
like to me, there was like a light. Like we talked about it last time you were here. I think that is when I saw it instantly. It's like there was like we were struggling for like 3 years just to get things made, get things pushed forward. Something was happening behind the scenes, and it's like there was like one meeting. And like where they're like, get your shit together. And they're like, okay, Fantastic Four cast, here's this poster. Thunderbolts starts filming. We're moving forward with like the Avengers movies. Like there have been an active push forward on just everything above board. And I think this is the year of like, get all the old shit out. Get Marvel Zombies out. Get Daredevil out. Get the all these various projects we've been working on for 5 years. Get them out. And next year will be completely fresh stuff. And that is exciting to me.
Yeah. Very. Very.
Absolutely. We're getting into the stuff from today. So we're in our final two things here. Liza Zayas, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, has been cast in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now, I know her from The Bear. Fantastic.
Okay.
I absolutely adore her in that. It's very exciting that we are heading forward with Spider-Man. Like, it's so crazy. Like, we're talking like New Avengers, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, X-Men. Like, what a crazy lineup we're in. Like, what a crazy timeline we're in. This is absurd.
Also, I do want to add before I forget something I love. And listen, I know some people might kind of feel weird about this. I'm actually glad if it is the case. If it's not the case, I won't be too upset. Spider-Man is not an Avenger. Like, I think most people know that he has helped the Avengers, but he himself is not an Avenger. He is like the protector of New York, right? I love that this movie, they've been saying that he will not be in Doomsday, but he'll be in Secret Wars.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Agreed. Yeah, no, like it's kind of tough to wrap your mind around, especially with, it being the face of, Tony Stark and stuff like that. Like, inherently you would expect him to be there, but I actually think it's going to hit harder having him not be there. And the whole movie, you're like, what is he going to think about this? How is he going to feel about this? And then him being one of the main characters in Secret Wars. Like, I think that makes a lot of sense narratively. And Peter needs, like, his grounded story. He needs it.
Absolutely.
He needs it. Yeah.
And might I add, this movie couldn't come out at a better time because it'll come out right after Doomsday, and people will be like, where was Spider-Man? But then we'll be getting a full Spider-Man focused movie.
Yeah. Perfect. Do you think it's going to be grounded?
I think I hope it is.
Yeah.
I hope it is. Do we have a theory, or at least, like, I know there's been rumors and stuff for the villain, or hopes?
I don't know. I really hope it's Mr. Negative. Mr. Negative would be...
Me too. Me too. But can I... No, I won't get into my Mysterio rant today.
I don't, like... I have no idea who this could be. Like, I know people are, like, theorizing. It could be Rio, but, like, I don't want to assume Rio just because it's, like, a black woman in a Spider-Man movie.
Right.
Like, it could be anyone. Like, we have no idea.
I did see someone theorize this. I like this just for the sake of, like, what, like, the idea of a movie. Someone said, what if it's the Chameleon? And to that, someone said, what if it's the Chameleon? Because like this is the first movie where he's had a completely new identity. He has obviously had his identity erased, everything like that, and the Chameleon is all about changing his identity. And right, exactly. And I thought that was pretty cool, but I still would like it to be Mr. Negative.
Yeah, I feel like Chameleon's almost like too small scale, almost. Like, I feel like you need someone that can like bridge the gaps a little bit from like grounded, but also like not small work for Peter now that he's literally fought like Thanos and like the like Sinister Five and stuff like that.
Yes. Before we move on from this, I do want to say something because obviously I believe this is the first of a new trilogy for the Spider-Man movies, if
hopefully
not mistaken. I would love nothing more than to see throughout these next 3 movies, now that Ned has no idea who Peter is, that because of this, Peter was the only, like, I would love a storyline where we see, Peter was the thing in his life that kept him from not being a bad person. And I would love to see, obviously, him become Hobgoblin.
Yeah.
Yes, by like the 3rd movie. I don't want it to be the 1st or the 2nd. I would love to just see, kind of like Harry Osborn was in, the first 3 Spider-Man movies, like how he became. I would love to see that.
If done well, I would be okay with it.
Yes. It would have.
Like, I feel like right now it's goofy, but like I feel like they could make it work if done over the course of time.
Yes.
Cody said that she's playing a teacher. I had not heard that, but I did hear there's casting calls for teachers in this movie. So that's the case. College years, which I think obviously I've been wanting them. Like I'm excited to see kind of like the college era of it.
Mm-hmm.
Cody mentions on our last story here, many people are pissed that they spoiled it after the weekend. I do agree. I wish they would have waited a little longer. Like I went with my friend on Tuesday, and he ended up not coming. But like I was like please don't have it on the billboard. Please don't have it on the things because I wanted him to go into that movie without that spoiler, without going into it. So maybe like today would have been maybe the better time to be like, it's new Avengers, guys. Oh my gosh, second weekend buzz kind of thing. And what I think would be or I guess we got 2 more things here, and then we'll move on to our actual Thunderbolts discussion. Thunderbolts director Jake Chenier, is that how you pronounce his name?
I do not know, but we'll go with it.
Jake Chenier, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, is in talks to direct the X-Men movie within the MCU. Man, I saw this today and I'm like, oh boy, this is exciting.
Tragic backstories for the win.
I don't know if I was talking with someone over the week on like one of these shows, and like we were saying how he needs to stay in the MCU. He did such a good job at directing this movie. He did such a fantastic job, and like we were throwing around various different ideas that he could play, blah blah blah. X-Men was not on my like thought process with him, but now that I hear it, I like, in terms of like the vibe and the style of Thunderbolts, I definitely think if given a very similar dynamic that X-Men, like I'd be totally okay with this. Like I'm not super well in verse of his past work and what all he's done, but just based on Thunderbolts, this makes me excited. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I would love to see him. Obviously Thunderbolts is a team of like almost people that nobody knows about, and I would love to see a team of people that everybody knows about.
Yeah, no, like I am. It's really interesting to just like. I'm gonna pull up another thing here really quickly because I am curious about like the timeline of it all, because like this to me tells me it looks like they're moving forward. Like they seem to have a potential writer, a potential director, potential producer lined up. So this seems like it is officially potentially moving forward, and we will be hearing maybe more details in the next couple months. So that makes me very curious about like where on the schedule it may lie, because we have a couple of empty spots in the next couple years. Do you think they could open the multiverse saga with an X-Men movie? Because that would be ballsy if they do, but I would kind of love it.
Yeah, I could definitely see them doing it. I feel like people like you said, like they, when did they acquire them? Back in like
2019.
2019. So I think people have been waiting long enough, and especially that they knew that X-Men 97 was so popular. I can definitely see it coming.
Let me pull this up because this was the kind of timeline of dates that we have over the next couple of years, and we have a couple like open dates. Like we have November of 2026, which wouldn't be it, obviously, but like we have July and November of 2027 that takes place after Secret Wars. Like I'm thinking like I don't know about July just because I don't know if you want to have an Avengers movie and an X-Men movie in theaters at the exact same time. That seems a little I don't know, do I want to say dumb? But to be fair, I don't think anything, right. I actually don't think anything should be in that day. I think there should be 2 movies in 2027. But like maybe like a November, like I could see a world where like maybe end the year with it or something. I don't know.
Okay. I don't know. I'm kind of I don't even know how I feel where it would go.
Yeah, it's tough though because like, do you want to open your whole saga with a movie this big? Because like it's ballsy, it's grand, and again, like this is only the second time we're starting a saga, and we started the last saga with Far From Home, which was always kind of a weird. No, you ended with Far From Home.
Yeah,
you started with Black Widow, right? Was that it?
Or WandaVision, if you want to really get into it.
Sure. I'd be open to it, but like I don't know, maybe I'd want to start like slightly smaller, just something like a Blade or something, just to ease your way in or something. Cody says the only reason we've not had an X-Men movie up until now is because they were waiting on the contracts. 100%. But I think it's best that they did it the way they did. Like I feel like you needed to get a lot of that kind of out before you kind of dove into X-Men. Which I think makes sense. I have one more thing here, and then we will finally move on to our proper discussion on the movie itself. There was a lot of... They had come out and talked about some scrapped plot lines for Thunderbolts that I found to be kind of interesting here.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So let's just go through some of these here really quickly. So here are some of the plot lines that didn't get in the movie that they want to do. Bill Foster becoming Goliath. We haven't seen Goliath in a very long time. I feel like it's been a minute.
We saw him as Goliath in
What If, I guess. But like,
What If,
yeah.
That's really been it, yeah.
I feel like the like Ant-Man lore and stuff in the MCU was so
lost,
utilized. Yeah, like Ant-Man and the Wasp was kind of fillerish. Like I like that movie, but it's very like non-sensical. It's there, and then Quantumania at this point's a waste of a movie because of the Kang stuff. Like I know you're a big Kang person, but like kind of a waste of a film.
It is. You're absolutely right. And as much as I remember, just to talk about that for a second, I remember watching the trailer for that movie when they gave this idea of him like tempting Scott with having time with his daughter. And I was like, yes, this is what I want. And then the movie came out and it was like, we're going to say the man, but we're not going to introduce him till halfway through the movie.
It's they promised us a movie that we never saw.
And I've always been a defender of like the whole thing of him getting defeated by ants and how, this is a 20% of what Kang really is, obviously being the reason that he was banished to the quantum realm by his superiors. So I've kind of been a defender in that way, but at this point, it's like I really wish they would have just recast the character. Like that was what I was like when this whole thing was going on, when it was like a month or 2 months of it happening. I was like, they're gonna recast him, right? Like he's such an important role. They're gonna recast him, right? And I just those days turned into weeks, turned into months, and I was like, what are we doing? And then when Avengers Doomsday was announced, I was like, over like replacing the Kang Dynasty, I was just like, we're done.
Yeah, I think they just wanted to be done. I think they're tired of the phase. I think they're wanting to move on, which I understand. Like, I know it's only been 5 years, but it's also been a long 5 years. It's been a long road here. And I think fans are also a bit tired of the whole, like, building up to Kang just for Kang not to come, which I get it. I could still see a world where maybe Kang is, like, in there, but, like, not the focus. Like, he's in there for, like, a scene as a different actor or something, but, like,
that would make me so, if there's a scene in Avengers Doomsday, by the way, where we see a different Kang, I'd be satisfied.
A different fate for Taskmaster, that can mean anything. I assume this just means she doesn't die in this continuity, which I think is true. Like, I was talking about this on another show I was on. I think there's a lot cut there. Like, I think Ghost feels very empty in that movie, and I think maybe that's why. I think maybe she interacted a lot with Ghost in that movie, and that was no longer there, so she had less to do in this movie. We'll talk about it then, but, like, would you have liked to have seen more Taskmaster, or were you okay with what happened?
I could have gone either way. When Taskmaster first came out, all I cared about was that, that the Taskmaster story was not a tech thing, and it was a memory thing of how Taskmaster is actually supposed to be.
Yeah.
And when I found out that it wasn't going to be like a memory, like, loss thing, it kind of upset me, because that's like the whole this is just a character now that is like an assassin. Like, to me, Taskmaster has a very cool thing about him, and now that has been lost. I was even hoping in this movie, before I knew Taskmaster was going to die, that we would see some of that. And I will say, for the short time that we saw Taskmaster, I did appreciate some of the stuff, like the little shield bounce thing. Like, I thought that was pretty cool. I like the fighting style. Yeah, I do kind of wish we could have gotten more, and a more thought out story than just like, I'm a tech, like an infused tech assassin.
Yeah, I mean, like, that was one of my things going into this movie. I was like, okay, I'm glad she's back, because they can redeem the character, they can fix the character, and they're like, nah, we don't feel like it. Boom. My only hope is maybe you can, like, do like a retcon of her or whatever, and the post Secret Wars, or like, I had even pitched like an idea of, like, maybe someone's inspired by that version, like someone takes up the mantle, but there's a comic, like, memory thing with him or something,
a Mandarin situation, if you will.
Like I'm actually the real one, or they, like, base that Taskmaster after the real one, like, with the like real abilities, because they wanted to do what that one was doing or something.
I would love if you are right on that. That would, like, if we get a point where it's like, no, like, the Russian government made this Taskmaster based off of like an operative that we saw years ago, and it's like no one knows who that would make me so happy.
That'd be really sick. Adamantium was being used as a plot point at one point. I believe that as well, because it feels like I don't know where the adamantium stuff is going to go. I kind of feel like some of that stuff in Brave New World is not going to go anywhere, because we're just going to do Secret War stuff and it'll be reset. So it's like that kind of makes sense to me.
I could actually see it going somewhere, like maybe if like Sam Wilson needs an upgrade, because I think there was a theory about like him absorbing some kind of adamantium to because he didn't want to do the super soldier serum until I don't know, there was some like weird rumor about that. But I could see them maybe going back into it, like what, when they start the X-Men, like the X-Men saga, whatever. But yeah, at this point, it could go either way.
Mm-hmm. John Walker becoming a Red Hulk.
No, keep that in the vault. I do not want that. I love John Walker. I love him just the way he is, and I don't need another Hulk at the moment. Let's get the ones we have right.
I wonder if that was before they got Harrison Ford. I wonder if that's before. Yeah, like, we'll do him, I guess. The story taking place entirely in the vaults is also an interesting pitch. Like, it's very like TV show, like very what's it called when they're all like isolated in one room for the whole episode, kind of thing. Bottle episode. It's very bottle episode.
Yeah. Can I tell you exactly? I'm so glad by the way that didn't happen. That makes me think instantly Van Forstick. That's all I can think about when I hear that. Is that like, because then the whole movie they're like pretty much just in that lab the whole time.
Yeah.
No, I can't do that again.
I did hear about the whole like A-bomb thing. I had heard that quote that he would have been A-bomb instead of Red Hulk. I wonder if the MCU will ever do like an A-bomb character, because I don't know much about the character outside of the like Agents of Smash show they used to have on like Disney Channel, but could be interesting, I guess. And lastly, each member was going to have their own shame room in the Void. Doesn't shock me either. Yeah. It was 100% a time thing. Like, there's definitely stuff they probably like. I get not all of them, but I would have liked a couple more of them to have their own little rooms or whatever of just of whatever. But yeah, we're gonna be getting into kind of the main story here. I do want to take a little bit here to talk about Thunderbolts. It's been out a week now. It's the newest edition. The final movie in the MCU Phase 5, which is
holy crap,
crazy.
That's crazy to think about.
We just started, like, it's it's been 2 years at this point, right? So it's 6 movies, a bunch of shows within the phase. So just general thoughts, general feelings. How did you feel walking out of Thunderbolts?
Excited. That was the one thing that just came to mind. Just excited about. I think I said this on Chainsaws, but the feeling that I had coming out of that movie was, oh my god, like, I'm so excited that we get to see these characters again in Doomsday. Like, we have the groundwork for these characters. When I see these characters running together as a team, especially with the new suits that they have, but I'm gonna be excited. I'm going to be so excited.
How fun is that? That most of them, I assume, will be in 3 movies 3 years in a row, right? Because this year or Doomsday next year, I assume Secret Wars the following year, depending.
I'm thinking that, but then as I was thinking about that, I'm like, oh, what if one of them dies in Doomsday?
Not to jump to the end, but I would be shocked. There is like one particular character that either dies in Doomsday or Secret Wars. Like, they don't all make it out of this 100%.
Yeah, no way. No way.
Absolutely. No, but like, again, like, this movie was such a weird experience, like, I feel, because like it was announced about 3 to 4 years ago at this point. What I think it was 2022 was announced, so about 3 years ago. There was some production issues, there were some things behind the scenes, but I feel like this one, like, once it kind of got filmed over the last year or so, I feel like I went through several phases of excitement and not excitement because they announced it. And I was excited, like I was one of the people that liked that lineup. I know a lot of people did not like that lineup and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but I liked it. I was like, okay, I like Yelena, I like Bucky, I like Red Guardian. Some of those weren't my favorite, but I was like, okay, but this is their chance to really prove themselves and grow as characters and stuff like that. And then, I think I think that first trailer didn't excite me too much, and the second trailer did, so it's this constant kind of up and down. And I think like the weeks following this release were very interesting because it went from no one's really excited to this might be one of the best MCU movies of all time with everything coming out about it and so like that. It's like top 3 highest on like Rotten Tomatoes. Like, that is crazy. Like, I would not have predicted that this was the one like a year ago to do that. It's been a kind of a crazy experience leading to this moment.
Yes. And to me, I kind of love the fact that this movie was underestimated a little bit, because it goes to show that Marvel can still do exactly what they did with Guardians of the Galaxy and take a team that nobody is excited for, nobody really cares about, and really raise the roof with. I love that. I love that they can do that, because imagine that means like imagine what they can do with like big characters. You know what I mean? Like that just is exciting.
It is exciting, and it kind of makes me nervous because it seems like they're less willing to do these kind of projects now going forward. Like they talked about how they really want to focus on their big franchises, their Avengers and their X-Men's and their Fantastic Fours and their, stuff like that. And like that's kind of my favorite, like you just said, that's one of my favorite things the MCU can do is they can take an Ant-Man or a Guardians or a Shang-Chi and make them people's favorite characters. Like that is
man, dude, I love
such
Shang-Chi.
a cool thing. And I feel like Phase 4 and 5 are probably made them a little scared to take those big risks, to make these big swings. And this is one of their big swings. And I think I hope this like they're sits in their room like, okay, we can make those big swings, but be smarter about it as we do it, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, I hope they realize, like, hey, we were making those big swings, but we were, doing too much at once. Like they said, Kevin was spread too thin. And this is the example that you can take those kind of, is this going to pan out for us kind of swing, but it's going to work out because you put so much heart and soul into it. And it had a script before they started filming.
Yeah.
I think that I really hope that this is like the poster child of they can do this going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Like there is an energy in this one that I haven't felt in the MCU for a while. And it's like Deadpool obviously made $1 billion, Guardians did well, stuff like that. But like this feels like there's an excitement for the universe as a whole that I have not felt maybe since Endgame, really.
And the thing I want to mention about those movies is that while technically they are in the MCU, they are disconnected in a way from the MCU. Guardians 3 is dealing with its own separate plot. Deadpool and Wolverine was just making like it kind of feels just like right. It's and to see a movie like this directly. I mean, you can't get more direct than what this movie did with the current MCU, like what's going on. And while it has its own story and everything, it directly plays into what's happening next. And I love that. I love like just the idea of that.
Agreed. Yeah, no, and like I think like, and I know we're talking more about like the outside world of it all, but like I think also the post-credit scene was a big one that I think they should also be leaning more into, where like so many of those post-credit scenes were stuff that we either took years to get to or
might never be shown again.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, like and like these were there's two stuff for it. One was for Avengers Doomsday, setting up that stuff we're going to see next year, and then there was also Fantastic Four that had come out. That's like comes out next year. Like and it's stuff that people could be like, oh, I can show back up in theaters 2 months from now, and to get to continue the story where you can't do with like Hercules and Thor, or the like ending of Ant-Man 3 where it's all the Kangs cheering up in the air and stuff like that. So it's like. I think that's going to help the overall hype of this universe.
I'm going to tell you something right now. I will definitely get back into Thunderbolts. I just have to say, every day I wake up and I am excited to live in a world and a time when this is the current Fantastic Four movie we are about to get. I was so the Fantastic Four has always been my favorite superhero team of any universe.
Yeah.
And when I saw, the John Krasinski read in Multiverse of Madness, I was like, I love him, but why did we do that to him? And I just wanted so much more. And then we got the name, the announcement and everything. When we switched over from the more like modern 4 thing that they had to like the retro futurism thing, I was like, oh my God. We're doing this. This has its own unique style.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I saw like, just like the art they were going with and the theme for it. And I was like, this is distinct. I could like play this theme and know exactly what movie this is coming from.
I love their little orchestra. They're like Fantastic Four. Like, it's so fun. It's so energetic.
Yes. Yes. I think my biggest hope, not that this movie will be good, it's because I already think it will be good, is that people enjoy it. That's what I hope. I hope people aren't like, oh, is this contributing to the main? I mean, I think it is contributing to the main MCU. But I love it for the exact reason that it doesn't take place in our main MCU universe yet. Obviously, I like that this is a different universe. I think this is like a little preview of what we kind of will get with, maybe Doomsday or Secret Wars, where we'll get to see all these different universes. But this is like a whole movie centered on these characters, and I could not be more excited. I'm so excited, in fact, that this could potentially end up being my number one MCU movie over Endgame.
I think it has potential to be up there. Like, again, like Thunderbolts raised the bar. I think Thunderbolts is currently at my number 10 out of all like 50 odd projects and stuff like that, and that's very high on that list for me. Then it's like, can this get even higher? Like, that could really help. Cody says Phase 6 being the first phase with every major team huge. Just the lineup, like I maybe already kind of mentioned this, but I think it's one of the craziest lineups of all time when you have Avengers, you have Spider-Man, you have Fantastic Four, you have New Avengers, you have Daredevil, you have Punisher, you have an X-Men show, you have a Spider-Man show. It's insane. I don't know how we got here. Like 2 years ago, we're like, there's not that many things out, and now it's like, oh, okay.
We're here.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, you want more Avengers projects? Here's three years in a row. Every year starting this year, there's an Avengers movie in theaters. Crazy.
Yeah.
But, like, going back into the Thunderbolts of it all, like, let's just talk about the characters. I feel like that's the easiest way to kind of go through this.
Yeah.
What was your favorite character in this movie? And then we'll start there and like make our way through.
So, although my favorite Marvel character ever is the Winter Soldier, my favorite character in this movie was probably Sentry or Bob.
Sentry, Bob. Yeah, I think I had heard that going in. Like, everyone said, Yelena's a star of this movie. She's great, but Bob is like the standout new character. I was like, interesting. Okay, because the trailers very purposely tried to hide what they could. They, like, all you knew was Bob, and if you didn't know outside knowledge, you wouldn't know he was the villain necessarily. Like, you wouldn't know. You just knew there was a guy named Bob, and then the shadowy guy in the city, whatever. So you didn't really know. And Sentry's not a comic character I know very well. Like, I'll be honest. Like, outside of getting announced, I had no idea who he was. But it's very cool. I think everyone very instantly, and again, like you said, this is what the MCU does best, introduces a character and makes you a fan of them. Now, I like Sentry. I like this character within the context of this movie, and that's very exciting. That's very cool. I think he definitely lends himself very well to the plot, where, like, yes, he's a character. Yes, he is, I mean, arguably 3 separate characters within this movie, but also he's like a proper character, but also spreads the plot along, and he kind of spreads this narrative throughout the movie.
Yeah. I really fell in love with his character. Obviously, it's like a big character moment for him at the very end, when that theme that they play at the end with it. This part is just, it hit a part in my heart. Yeah. When Yelena first comes and offers him the hug, but then when the rest of the team huddles around him, that felt to me like, I know this is going to sound a little weird, where the Avengers are very noble and like heroes. This is a team that might not be as noble and might not always be as heroic, but they are so much more intertwined in each other, like, emotionally.
Yeah.
And that, when they all did that hug to help him, that felt, I saw someone compare that this is what Wanda needed from the Avengers. And I completely agree. I loved that moment.
Yeah, this felt like, and like Guardians always did it very well and stuff like that too, but like, the Avengers never really felt like a family to me. They always felt more coworker vibes, which...
Yeah, like a team. Just a team.
Yeah, they're like a team, and that's fine. But like I do think people look back on that team and think like, oh, like they were so close and stuff like that. Like they're friends, yes. Like and some of them care deeply for each other. Like I think that like original 6 obviously were very bonded. But like outside of that, like yeah, like I feel like the closest we got to it was like Civil War, where you got to see like everyone outside the tower and stuff like that. But like that's been one of my biggest like critiques with like the MCU Avengers. They don't like you don't really get to feel the effects of their friendship and them as a team because you wait so long in between each movie and it's so plot based, and unless you were to do like some kind of like TV show, it'd be very hard to implement that. And you're right, like in a very short amount of time, like I care very deeply for characters I didn't care about like 2 hours earlier. Like we'll talk about some of these later or earlier, but like I think Ghost is a big one. I guess we can talk about it now. Like Ghost was a big one where it's like I actually don't know how they did it with Ghost, because I simultaneously really grew to love her in this movie while also thinking they didn't give her enough to do in this movie at the same time. And she kind of is also just there, like she's kind of there for part of the plot, but also she's very charismatic. She's very fun. You like watching her on screen, which ultimately I guess is okay for the the context of this movie.
Right. Yeah.
What do you think of Ghost?
I originally liked her story in Ant-Man and the Wasp, even though it was kind of a filler movie. I did like her. I liked the way she came across. I liked how she was kind of like a desperate soul. Like I just need help. Like please help me. And in this movie, like she hasn't gone full villain. I'm so happy, by the way, that they didn't like make everyone in this movie like I'm a villain and I gotta be like they were just kind of trying to get by. Yeah. Like the one moment, and I'll kind of get into this later, but it's a one with John Walker when we get into him. But no, I thought Ghost was really great. I loved her. Obviously a lot of her action stuff, a lot of her stuff stands out. Because she's phasing through stuff. I thought that was really cool. I watched Ant-Man and the Wasp recently just to right before this movie, just to kind of refresh myself. And I think it helped. I think it makes her character a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm that's one I have not seen, I think, since I saw it in theaters, and I think it really sucks watching it then because it's like you're coming off of Infinity War and you're like, yeah, this is like it's okay, but it's no Infinity War. It's kind of there. But no, like I think Ghost is here, and it's very interesting to see like the sudden fandom around Ghost that just was not there like a week ago, which is really cool to see. And like that's what I wanted from Taskmaster, which I guess we could talk about Taskmaster here. But like that was my big thing for Ghost and Taskmaster, where the people like I don't care about the character. I was like, okay, this is their chance to prove themselves. This is their chance to convince you.
And I saw a thing. I don't know if it was true or not. I would have loved especially if they kept Taskmaster in here because of this reason that they both grew up in a lab away from people, and that could imagine Ghost mentoring Taskmaster of like, hey, I know you grew up in this lab and experimented on and stuff. This is how you can get through it.
Yeah.
That could have been their bond. And I feel like maybe, as great as Thunderbolts was, it's not without its critiques. And maybe that was a misstep.
Yeah, I have a couple criticisms, and one of them is Taskmaster. And it's we already talked about them a little bit, where it's like, yeah, I'm not a big fan of this one. And I wanted them to improve upon it. Also, I think it kind of just feels very weird in the moment to introduce her just to kill her off instantly, to the point where I almost think I think the movie might flow better if she's just not in it at all. Just cut her out of the movie. I feel bad just as an actress to be like, okay, we want you back in. We have this whole thing for you to ultimately be like, I think it's maybe 30 seconds of screen time. It's not a large amount of time.
I think they did it to kind of give not that this is, I know people have made comparisons, but I think they did it to give it the Suicide Squad effect to show that no one's safe.
There was a quote. I read it on a different show I was on, And they basically just wanted there to be stakes. They wanted to feel, like you said, no one is fully safe and things can happen and blah blah blah. I don't think you necessarily needed to do that, because I actually think they showed that there's stakes elsewhere in the movie.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I think that the way that they did it with Taskmaster, by doing it to a character that people didn't really care about, didn't, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really. I think it's different in not to talk about this for a sec, but the Suicide Squad, because the one character they kill is Captain Boomerang, who was a full movie in the other, so people might have had time to care about him. But yeah, I think they could have maybe gone without killing Taskmaster.
Yeah, or if you do kill her there, like, make her effects feel bigger, because because there's one reference, like there's that one line from Yelena that's really good, where like she's like, she killed people and then she got killed, and that's what's going to happen to all of us someday. I was like, oh, that's a good line. Like that's a really cool implementation of Yelena's arc and where she is, but maybe let that linger a little bit more. I don't know what exactly I would do, but like, if there wasn't a death in that scene and there was only 5 of them the whole time, or 4 of them the whole time, I don't think I'd be like, man, this feels weird, or this, I need more stakes in this movie. Because again, I think they do a really good job of showing the like stakes of everything, especially in that third act of
right.
Characters can just go there, and I think I'd feel that weight.
In a perfect world, I think I would have replaced that first end credit scene with like, we see the real Taskmaster with like some kind of computer thing, and he sees that maybe this version of Taskmaster hasn't, in the movie, she doesn't die in the beginning. She dies, maybe in New York saving someone, and this Taskmaster sees that and like wants to make himself more well known. Like, hey, that's not me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that would be a cool thing, but that's all hypothetical.
Yeah, like I was even thinking this week, like, if you do the actual Taskmaster, it'd be a fun like Thunderbolts sequel villain as well. Like having like this like new Taskmaster show up and be like, we know her and he knows all of our skills now. How do we take this guy down? Like, I think that'd be very outside of Century, which would obviously, you wouldn't work with that character, obviously, but like I think the rest of them, that could be very, very fun.
Yeah.
Let's talk about John Walker next. John Walker is a very interesting character. I was actually one of the people that kind of liked him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Not as a character necessarily, but more of like a character study and what they did with that character. This very flawed asshole kind of character. And I was excited to see more of him. I was excited to see how he kind of fit into this movie. I know some people are coming out of it being like loving him. I know some people are coming out still not loving him, for obvious reasons. How did you feel about him here?
So I will start with where he was in Falcon and Winter Soldier. I loved him coming out of Falcon and Winter Soldier, and for the biggest reason, I always give this example when people talk about Civil War. People always go, "Oh, why were you Team Cap?" And to that, I say, John Walker is exactly what Cap would have become if he went Team Iron Man. He would have surpassed. He would have went to the government, laid by their rules, and that's exactly what John Walker is preaching in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He goes, "I lived my life by your mandates. I did what you asked of me, what you told me to be," and then they just ripped everything the second he made one mistake. Obviously it was a bad mistake. No, not some little pat on the wrist thing, but that's what I always say. And for that character, like, he also doesn't just go down a complete path of darkness after that. Like, he still helps Bucky in the end. Like, he wants to be good, but he's not like the most righteous man.
He's a flawed character. Yeah.
Yes, I love it. And going into this movie, one of my favorite lines when I was just, like, when I saw this with my friend, and we both looked at each other, we were like, oh. Because they had kind of thrown around the idea that his wife and kid had left, but when they're all tied up, and he goes, and then like Bucky throws that little shot at him, and they all look at him, and he's like, he doesn't say anything, but he just is like, yeah, that I loved that moment.
I think John Walker had just enough for me, because there's some characters here that like we will talk about in a second. I feel like I think I needed more from them. John Walker, I think, was given just enough where he didn't steal the show, but also I felt like his character had developed. He's in this place of mourning. I feel like he's more willingness to be the asshole in this one around, which is very interesting. Like, it feels like he's kind of accepted that, but he's on his kind of on his grief path where he's slightly getting over his wife and son leaving, but that pain is still in there, it's locked in there somewhere. And I think with your villain, and I know there was it had come out this week that like John Walker was supposed to be like the like villain of this movie in like the earlier drafts and stuff like that, which is very interesting. And I'm glad they didn't do that, because I think bringing out that asshole, like bringing out that kind of that like shitty Captain America was a really good choice. And I think that he works with almost every cast member here as well. Like, he has chemistry with all of them, and he very much is that like. And almost like he almost really does kind of hold the team together in like a really weird way, and like in a way that kind of, he's like your straight man of the group, where like I don't know if the team works as well if you take him out of the equation, which is something I did not think I would say, and I also would not expected that the next Avengers movie version of Captain America would be John fucking Walker. Like, I would have been like, oh, is it Sam? Is it Bucky? No, it's John Walker of all characters. Okay, that's interesting. And I'm curious to see his arc continue, because I talked about they're one of these characters I think will die in the Avengers movie. I think he's one of them. I think I'm excited for his arc of like, we'll talk about like the post-credit scene here in a second, but like I think it's going to be a thing of like Sam does not like this team. He does not trust this team. He is mad at Bucky for putting together this team. And I think John is going to be one of the big contenders of it. Like, he literally tried to ruin the Captain America like symbol. Right. And then I think it's going to be him at the end being like, damn, he died for our cause. He is Captain America now, I guess. That's crazy. Which is, I think it'll be a really fun arc to watch him go on. For sure.
You just made me think of something. I would love to see just a little like side thing in Avengers Doomsday. I would love to see, like, obviously it'll be a very serious movie. I would love to see like a little like banter competition thing go on between the two teams of like maybe, you know, the Avengers do something and then John or one of them do something and they just like look over at him like as like kind of like a did you see that kind of thing. I would think that would be so great.
It's like, I think that's where a lot of the comedy moments are going to come in here, where it's like it's going to be your Fantastic Four event, like proper Avengers, your X-Men being very serious heroes, and it's like Red Guardian and John Walker just making a fool of themselves. Like, especially Red Guardian, like, it's gonna be like, yes, we're all a team, let's do this. Which is a good segue to Alexei, Red Guardian. And I'll say, like, I haven't been the biggest Red Guardian guy in the previous ones. Like, I didn't love him in Black Widow. I really disliked him in the newest season of What If as well. Like, I was not a big fan. And like, I didn't hate him, but like, to me,
he's just kind of there.
He was. I kind of found him a little unlikable in the first Black Widow movie, and I thought he was very out of place in What If. And so going into this one, I was like, okay, this is going to be the moment he either makes or breaks it for me. And I felt him very interesting in this movie, because in some of this movie, I did kind of feel the same, right? He's definitely your comedy relief. He's that like so annoying that he's funny character that we have a lot in the MCU. You're like Korg and stuff like that, right? Some of it really worked for me. Some of it was really good. Some of it, I'm like, man, you got to shut up a little bit. Like, some of it's like, man, you're pushing my buttons a little bit. But I did really like his arc at the end of the day. I really liked his supporting role to Yelena as a character. I like this arc about him wanting to be a hero and wanting to get back out there, but ultimately what a hero means to him in this movie is being a father and being back there for his daughter. And like, that's ultimately what brings him the like most joy, is finally being like, okay, this is what I have to do. This is what I've been wanting to do, but didn't have the courage to become back in her life again. So like that. What did you think of his character here?
So I agree with you with What If. I was not a big fan of him in What If. I did like him in Black Widow enough. Like, I wasn't like crazy. So the reason I do like him in some regard, he's not my favorite character. He's just kind of like hey, when he's on screen, he kind of brings a smile to my face sometimes.
Sure.
He actually reminds me of just like a lot of jokes that my dad makes. Or like he's a very old man, not an old man, but an older guy. And the thing that makes me laugh in the movie the most is not even just like the things he actually says. It's the Russian accent and his very basic vocabulary.
Yeah.
Like the one that got me was like he's like when he's like, that's what I talk about. Like his very bad English is what gets me. And of course, you know, I liked his arc with Yelena. When it was actually one of the few moments where I felt myself about to cry, along with you know, where they all hugged him. When Yelena walked into the void.
Oh,
and
God, yeah.
And like he was like,
no,
like that was the first time I can remember in a long time, maybe even ever, seeing him be so like not a funny smile on his face, or like he was distraught.
Yeah,
and that broke my heart a little bit to see him like that.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that was. And I think this movie does a really good job of tone. Like it is a funny movie. They have jokes in here, but they also know, when it gets serious, it's dark and emotional and tragic, and you know, we'll talk about those themes in like a second here. But like, yeah, no, like I 100% agree. Like, I guess we could just mention it here. Like, there's that fantastic Yelena and Alexei scene where she's just breaking down how she feels. Like, you know, they just lost against Century, and it's like, I think it's easily my favorite scene in the movie, but I do just really love that arc for him being like, what he thought was best for his daughter was to stay away. Like, he thought, she doesn't want anything to do with me, you know, she's mourning, it's just like me being here is like not what she needs, and her being like, well, you were wrong, like I wasn't strong enough to ask for it, but I needed you with me and you weren't there, and her being like, oh, man, I fucked up. Okay, I am here now. Like, there's that fantastic, you know, like bunch of lines where it's like, do you remember why you wanted to be on the soccer team? Like, why you wanted to be goalie? And it's like, yeah, because you wanted to make sure everyone that like you could protect everyone on your team, and like he becomes this like heart of the team, and you know, all that fun stuff. It's like, oh my gosh, yes, it's so emotionally driven, and like I kind of went from that point of like being just okay with them to being like, all right, he's pretty good, all right.
Yeah, like how right kind of won you over a little bit there.
Yeah, 100%. Who have we not talked about yet? Bucky. We can talk about Bucky. I don't know how you feel about Bucky. I feel like people either love him or hate him in this movie. I didn't hate him in this movie.
Yeah.
But he doesn't get a lot to do, unfortunately.
No, I agree with you.
It's tough because like the argument is like he's been in the MCU for now like 13 years. Like he's had like 8 movies and a TV show, and he's in presentations, and he's in all this stuff, and it's like, I get it, he's had a lot to do, but I feel like this could have been a very cool movie to do a very special arc with him, or at least just give him a little more context, because he kind of just floats through this movie. He's kind of just doing stuff without a central narrative, and I feel like most of the other characters, like John Walker is a great example, he didn't have a lot of screen time, but he at least had a little bit of an arc he kind of went through. And I think Bucky could have had a really cool arc of like, and there is that one line that I caught on like rewatch that like, you know, he did have a little bit of an arc, but like, I really like this idea that he sees all these players and it reminds him of himself. It reminds him of that the system isn't fair, and it screws you over, and it forces you to do things that you probably wouldn't have done, and that he was given the opportunity to change and grow.
Yes.
And he wants to give them that same thing. And maybe that's an arc that we will continue to tell in Doomsday, now that those two factions are going to be going against each other, right? But I wanted a little bit more of him like relating to the team on a central level. Just a little bit more from him would have been nice.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the whole Bucky stuff?
Well, obviously, like I said, Bucky is my favorite character in all of Marvel. I have loved him since the day.
Sure.
I actually have, I can't see, but it's a whole Bucky Winter Soldier poster over there.
Oh yeah.
But I agree. Like I like him in this movie, but there's a reason why he's not my favorite character in this movie specifically. Yeah. I think they did a better job. Or actually, no. I really liked his whole arc with trying to redeem himself in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I like that kind of carries over into this. But this felt like, if I'm being quite honest, this really felt like his little, like, this is how I'm going to connect. Oh, hi, 3W. This kind of felt like this is how he's going to connect our Thunderbolts to the rest of the MCU. Like, he felt like the connection that was necessary.
100%. Yeah.
But as far as, like, himself, I would have even taken, like, he's grabbed by Sentry, and, like, we see, like, a whole thing with him. Or I would have loved even, like, a little moment where a kid runs up to him and, like, is, like, really, like, oh, you're, like, because for so long he's been branded as the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And I would love to see, that not be the case anymore.
Yeah, and, like, even the stuff with, like, him being, like, post-government official is also kind of interesting. Like, you know, he's obviously kind of out of that world now. But, like, also that whole thing is very interesting to me because, like, I was really thinking about it this week and, like, how the system kind of feels corrupt that, like, Bucky was able to get voted in probably just because he was an Avenger and he's popular.
Yeah.
People love him and, like, there, you know, you can line some parallels to, like, the, like, real world if you want to, and, like, how it's not so much about politics nowadays and more about, like, a popularity vote and blah blah blah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's very funny to me as well. But yeah, he's there. I'm not mad about it, but I would have liked just a little bit more from him.
Yeah, we definitely need more of him in Doomsday.
Agreed, and I think he'll probably be one of the leads of that movie if I had anything to say about it. Let's talk about Yelena. I feel like we've waited long enough. She's fantastic. Like, you know, this was a Yelena movie. This was a Black Widow too.
Oh,
like,
definitely.
Like in many aspects of this movie, it feels like it's Yelena and friends, and I think that's the best thing this movie could have done. Like, this movie to me elevates her from Black Widow's sister to, I think, one of the most important characters in the MCU.
Yeah.
I walked out of there, and I think the MCU has been missing their pillars for a while. Like, there hasn't been the faces of the MCU that they had with, like, Cap, Iron Man, and Thor. And I think for a while we've had Sam. That made sense. We've had Doctor Strange, but I feel like one has kind of been missing. And I walk out of this movie, and I feel like,
that's her.
We found her. That's her. She is one of the new faces. I think in 5 years, when people think of, like, what is the modern MCU, they're going to think of Florence Pugh. And honestly, one of the best choices I think Marvel has made by casting her. Like,
I agree, and especially in the interviews that she's been in, she has just been laughing up a storm, having fun with it all.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's such an improvement of a character. Like, it might be one of the best examples of, like, a legacy character I've ever seen, because, like, I like Natasha. She's great. They did her dirty in a lot of those MCU movies. They did not do her justice. They introduced her as a proper character way too late, and I think they killed her off too early. And in result of that, I think in just 3 movies, she's surpassed Natasha, in my opinion, as like the Black Widow character. Like, I already kind of feel like she's like 10 times the character that Natasha was up until this point. Which is not her fault. It's no one's fault. Like, it's just a product of time and stuff like that. But, like, it's pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, definitely.
There was, you know, these arcs of just in general, like, I think, like, the main arc being about, like, depression and mental health and sadness, and I think having a character so openly being like, I don't know what to do. Like, I am sad. I kind of think about ending it every day and stuff like that. That is so, like, oh man, this is hard.
I think when I was watching this movie, all I could think about was just her journey from, you know, Black Widow to here, in that, like, we've gotten to see her in so many different lights of, okay, this is her next to her sister. She's joking around. She's having a good time, right? And then in, Hawkeye, she's on this revenge spree of like, who is Clint Barton? And we get to see her interact. And when she finds out what happened, I almost feel like hearing how much her sister sacrificed as an Avenger almost made her like this. Like, wow, look at what my sister was in, the Red Room with me.
Yeah.
And look what she did. She saved the universe.
The hero, yeah.
And that, like, I feel like that could have, obviously wasn't, directly shown, but that could have been a big effect of, like, that all that weighing on her. Like, I was in the Red Room too, but what have I done? All I've done is, go after the man that was her best friend, and I'm not a hero like my sister. And I feel like by the end of this movie, not only is she not trying to be a hero like her sister, she is just being her own version of what she thinks a hero should be. And that's not necessarily punching and shooting, but that's being there for somebody.
Yeah, 100%. No, I think it might be one of the best single film arcs the character has gone on. Like, obviously you have stuff like Iron Man and Rocket, but like those are like multi-film, and I guess you can argue that it started all the way in Black Widow to Hawkeye to this and stuff like that too. But like, you're right, and especially like on rewatch, I think like that first act hits very hard about her being like, I don't want to do this no more. Like, I'm sad, and I want more of a front-facing role and stuff like that. And I think you end the movie with her being an Avenger, the government official Avengers team, where it is a journey about her getting into that hero role, and like you're 100% right, like it is about her becoming her own kind of hero. And like, what does it mean? What does it even mean to be a hero in this universe anymore? Does it mean never doing bad things? Not necessarily. We've seen a lot of our heroes do some really bad things. That's not necessarily true. And like, yeah, you're right. Everything with her and Bob is just fantastic in this movie. And like what, her like meteorating Walker and helping out Ghost and relating with Bucky. And like, I feel like Bucky is going to be the like technical leader of the Thunderbolts due to experience, but I think she is like our Captain America, where it's like, well, yeah, but she's the real leader of this team. She's the one.
I had said, I still think Yelena is the leader of the Thunderbolts, but I think Bucky's like the backbone of like, he's like kind of like the most recognizable. Like, obviously,
he's the mascot almost. Yeah.
He's the mascot, but isn't necessarily the leader. Like, for example, the leader of the Avengers is, Captain America, or at least most people would consider him, or Iron Man. But they kind of go hand in hand. I see it as Yelena and him.
Exactly. Yeah, no. And like, even like, I don't know, like I do sometimes feel a little bad for Bucky though, because he's like the longest MCU character at this point, but he is still the like supporting character to everyone else's movies, which I think he does very well. Like I think it does kind of work well here. But you're right. Like, I think like even in that like post-credit scene where it's like she's leading the charge, even though she's like, check this and check this and check this, but still her being like, all right, what we got to do, like riling the team together, sending them on missions, blah blah blah. So I think all that stuff is very fun, very cool, very swift. I feel like we've talked about like Bob a little bit, but like, I think there's a lot of elements still there of like the Century stuff, which I quite enjoyed here. And I think like the Void as a villain, I think is going to be very interesting when we, talk about like the villains of the MCU. I think they waver from like really goods to don't care. And I feel like this one's going to be very interesting, throwing him into that conversation. Do you even throw him in the conversation? Is it even the Void, or is it Valentina as your true villain? Like, that's going to be the interesting conversation. It's like, Bob's not really a villain. Like, he's like this national disaster, where it's like you kind of can't avoid it.
He is almost the physical embodiment of what we don't want to happen to our heroes.
I think having depression be the villain of a Marvel movie is so fascinating.
Yeah.
It's very Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, where it's like,
yes,
it's like death is inevitable. It's there, but you embody him in a character like that, and you make him this physical this like physical villain that you have to quote unquote fight. It's so like, oh man, what an interesting decision to do that with. It's so interesting. I think how they write it, like I know some people haven't liked it as a like depiction of depression and stuff like that, but like I personally thought it was a very good depiction. Like there's that fantastic scene where like Bob is like, or I'm sorry, John Walker is like on the edge of the like building, and he's like about to kind of go over, and it's like, oh, I think they do a really good job at like showing how it consumes you and like how that darkness can take over, and it's something that they can't necessarily escape. There's that fantastic third act sequence when Elaine is going through all the like different doors, and there's a fantastic scene where like evil Elaine is like making her drink the like alcohol, and like all that stuff is just fantastic. And I think it sets it part aside instantly from all the other MCU projects. It's you know, I like the MCU, but there's a lot of very stereotypical third act Marvel movies, and I feel like it escapes that very instantly. I think it already puts it above one of my favorite third acts of like a Marvel movie.
Yeah. When I originally saw the movie, it kind of like took me by surprise that was like the like how they were going to do the ending. But the more that I thought about it, I was like especially on my second viewing, I was like, this is perfect. I'm like, this is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a lot of what we've been kind of asking for, I think, for the MCU, these more character-driven stories, these connected, you know, ideas and themes and like stuff like that I think it hit very hard for me. And like, yeah, I think it's one of the more emotional MCU movies. I guess all my favorite like MCU movies post Endgame have been very like emotional. Like you got like Guardians 3, Wakanda Forever, and then this that are just like, yep, they all made me cry. For sure.
Yeah.
Talking about
sorry, just see my camera quick.
Oh, you're good.
But I can still hear you and stuff and conversate.
Gotcha. I mean, talking about like the post-credit scene, like I feel like that is like a whole other thing onto itself. Like, you know, there's so much going into it, and like going into the movie, people were like, "This is the greatest post-credit scene of all time," and I was like, "That's high praise." Yeah. And at first, I'm like, I'm not sure if I agree with that, and I'm still not sure if I agree with that. What was your thoughts on like the like 2-minute 30-second post-credit scene?
Well, it was one of the reasons why I love the fact, like when I had talked about me coming out of the theater excited, like for the future, those costumes and just the way it felt like what was it, like 14 months or 18 months later? I don't know what they chose.
I think it was 14. But,
yeah, it was just like 14 months later. I loved that. And that it was like so into the future, and it was, then we got the Fantastic Four. Like, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
It just felt like this is what's happening in the universe, and we get to see that firsthand. Not just like what's, you know what I mean? Like, it just, I don't know, it felt very natural. It got me excited. It did what a post-credit should.
Agreed. Yeah, like we talked about this a little earlier, but like, yeah, like this is my most like the like one in a long time that's got me like genuinely very psyched for what's coming up next. And it kind of does break into two separate parts. Like obviously you have the setup for Doomsday, which is them all in the tower and in their suits and taking charge. And like this is the first time we've seen like an Avengers team of any sort since 2019. So like just seeing them like in the tower in their suits. First time we've seen them all like an Avengers team inside the tower since Civil War, I think. So like that's even like holy shit, it's crazy to see this. And like I love John Walker's little like salute hat thing he had going, and the little Avengers logo, and I think John's shield still being bent like a taco is really funny. Which makes sense too, because like if that was one of the Wakanda shields, they're not going to make John Walker a second shield. They're like, no, fuck this guy. This guy sucks. We hate him. We're not making him a second shield. They're not going to ask Sam for a favor and like getting that, you know, help pushed along. So it's like, it makes sense. Although I'm shocked they don't just give him like, I don't know. I guess a bent vibranium shield is still better than no vibranium shield. So.
Right. kind of with that post-credit scene, I not only did I like the post-credit scene, this might go down as like my top 5 favorite credits of an MCU movie, because like the whole like Times News magazine of them like showing like the black and white photos, and like it just felt like this is the new event. I was like really into that. I was like, this looks exactly how I was hoping that they would like picture these characters to the public.
100%. Yeah, like I kind of skipped over the like New Avengers thing a little bit, but like yeah, like I think that was such a smart way to go about it, because like I think they like in universe are saying the same things that people out of universe are saying. Like my mom was like, I don't like that there are new Avengers team. And it's like, good, because neither does that world. Like they're like, who the hell are these guys? These aren't the Avengers. Like they're not strong enough. They're weak. Who are these losers? And I think that's the entire point. They are losers. They are going to be the losers of Avengers Doomsday. They're going to be the butt of the joke. And I think the point is they're going to have to prove themselves to everybody. Everyone involved, they're going to have to prove themselves, which I think is such an interesting way to go about it, and such a good way to make us relate to these characters. Like we are now voting for them. Like we are rooting for them to succeed. There's people that are like, I don't care about Sam's Avengers. I really want this team now. It's like, whoa, that's kind of crazy that we're here. Like that's insane.
Yeah, I think that conversation in and of itself just gives the MCU so much more flavor. There's more than one Avengers team to, who's your favorite Avengers team? This one, that's an interesting conversation to have. Also, I just thought of this as you were talking about that. I would love a bit to see in Doomsday where the first people, because they're based in New York, that the Fantastic Four meets is the new Avengers and not Sam Wilson's Avengers. What's an Avenger? Oh, you guys? And then Sam Wilson's like, no, they're not the real Avengers. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that would be such a funny bit.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see like John Walker and Reed Richards, because instantly I'm like, oh, they're going to fucking hate each other. They're going to butt heads instantly, and then the like Red Guardian is going to be like, it's so like it's going to be such an interesting dynamic. But I am wondering, like, there was that the like Nightcrawler actor had come out and like kind of quote unquote spoiled that he gets in a fight with Reed Richards, and I was thinking maybe Avengers and New Avengers fighting, and then Fantastic Four and X-Men fighting. Are we gonna do Avengers and Fantastic Four versus Avengers and X-Men? Like, is that going to be the lineup where we end up like that would be pretty insane. If we go that route, like I'm so curious, and I'm also really curious about the dynamic between Sam and Bucky going forward. To the point, I'm almost more anticipating that whole plotline over like the like Doctor Doom stuff itself at this point, because I do think the like copywriting the like name of the Avengers is such an interesting thing. Like I like the idea of these two opposing groups fighting for each other. One being the government-run Avengers, the other one being a depending if they win the copyright, I guess. But also like that's very interesting because it's like if the government are saying that these guys are the Avengers, that like if they end up winning that might make Sam's team vigilantes. And if that's the case, we have a whole thing in the MCU now about vigilantes and what they mean. And like, do we start that movie with them being like technically not legal heroes and them just kind of going out and doing their thing? Like that would be really interesting and building that tension between
a civil war too, if you will.
I came out of that being like, I kind of wish we could have Captain America 5 in between Doomsday. Like, I think that'd be really interesting. And like, I do really think that's where we're going with that. Like, I think Sam might lose that like court hearing or whatever, because you're going to have Valentina, someone with money and resources. Sam's broke. He doesn't have money. He doesn't have the amount of resources to fight that unless he gets help from like Wakanda or something, right? So that's going to be really interesting. And like, I wonder if it's a thing of like, maybe Sam's like, hey, just come join our team. We can all work together. He's like, no, I'm not working with John Walker and all these criminals. And like, I think it is so interesting from like Sam's POV looking at that, like he's probably spent months trying to reform this team, trying to define himself as Captain America, and on live TV he sees a new Avengers with criminals, with assassins, with killers next to his best friend, which is by their side. I would be pissed too. I do not blame Sam for not being on good terms with Bucky right now.
Nothing would make me laugh harder than if we open up Doomsday, where, like, I know I kind of talked about this before, but like if they end up having Red Hulk join the Thunderbolts, and Sam sees the man that he, had to put away, and he's like, they did not put the man that almost killed me on this other team. Like, that just would be the funniest thing to me. I would love that.
Like, he asked Sam to rebuild the Avengers. He's like, nah, this one's fine, kid. This is whatever. Yeah. This works, I guess. Oh man. Yeah, no, it's really exciting stuff. I mean, I know there's so much in this movie we probably didn't talk about, but was there stuff that we haven't talked about, that we haven't brung up, that you want to shine a light on, that like you want to talk about?
I think we pretty much covered everything that I was looking at, especially because we talked about all the characters. So
yeah, no, like I think I loved it. I had a great time with this movie. It's very much a lot of what I've been asking for and been wanting, and I hope they consistently bring this going forward. Again, very any nitpick I have are very small at this point. Like I think that second act was slightly less solid than the first and third one. Like I think maybe there could have been a slightly better connecting tissue. I maybe would have liked maybe another 10 minutes to let them bond a little bit more before they officially become a team in that third act. Like let that couple more minutes of screen time for some of these characters to bond and connect, because I do think that third act would have hit even harder, like when they break through the void and they all come to save her, being like, okay, yeah, we are a team now officially. But just a couple sprinkles here and there, but fantastic movie. Loved it. Seen it twice. I'll probably watch it again when it comes to streaming and stuff like that. Absolutely great time. And it's crazy to think our next movie is Fantastic Four. we're here. It's crazy.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, Behind the Colonel, this was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for being here on my continuous Marvel rants and rambles and discourse. This is an absolute pleasure.
I love being here.
Absolutely. For those who may want to find you, what you're working on, what you're doing, where can people locate your content?
Mostly YouTube, TikTok, and sometimes I'm just posting random stuff on Twitter that I find.
Absolutely. Go check out his stuff. Some amazing reactions, some amazing content. Sometimes you can find us both over on Council as well. So if you want to maybe see us clash every once in a blue moon, that would be the place you would find us both at the same time, typically. Stuff on our side. After credits this Monday, obviously, like always, we're still doing what's still on right now. Doctor Who, Andor, Last of Us. I think some of my co-hosts are talking about the new Star Wars show that just dropped. Was it Tales of the Underworld?
Oh, Tales of the Underworld. That was really good. Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
I think we might have some people over there talking about that as well. And then the pipeline next Thursday, hopefully. We will be doing another MCU kind of deep dive next week, though, because now that we're in the end of our post Bob Chapek's era, I do want to look back at Phase 4 and 5 and break it down a little bit, see what kind of went wrong, what went right, see if we can kind of see where we're heading in the future, and breaking down all that stuff, slowing it down a little bit before we head into Phase 6 in a couple months here. So that's what you can expect over on the next week. Behind the Colonel, it was an absolute honor. And ladies and gentlemen, I will see you on the flip side.